The water won't come through the water lines to fill the toilet tank, so I have to fill it with a bucket of water. It's plugged with sediment. No one should have to be afraid to drink their water. Not in this day, not in this age. I'm gonna fill it up with some water.
Since construction began, her well has turned murky. The sediment you see, that's from her taps. And she said,
"Bro, look at that." Okay, so this is what I want to talk about. The data center. Guys, the data centers are killing people, and they don't talk about this. The data centers are actually killing people. It's really it's not good. So I'm going to walk you through what I've been digging through the last few days, because once you see these receipts, you cannot unsee them. I promise you that. You will be mad. It goes from concerned and curious to mad and like, what are we going to do? So I want to start with Memphis. Last summer, Elon Musk dropped what he calls the world's biggest supercomputer right next to that community. And he named it Colossus. It's 230,000 NVIDIA GPU, 230,000. All right. And that, like, those GPUs, they got to be put in encasements, and then they got to be cooled. And like, there's a lot that goes into this. So he built this in 122 days, which by his own brag is faster than any data center that has ever been built in human history. Now, data centers have been around for quite some time. Data centers aren't new, but this level of data center, this activity is new. What's interesting about this is that they did not get permits for this stuff. The Southern Environmental Law Center, they flew thermal drones over the site and confirmed that there are 35 turbines, smog forming nitrogen oxide pouring into the air. No permits, no oversight, no public comment period, no nothing. They just shafted these people. So that's when when UT ended up doing this research out of Knoxville. They found that peak nitrogen dioxide concentrations went up 79% in the area immediately surrounding the data center. Immediately. That is the satellite measured truth. Time Magazine ran the investigation as well, which is right here. We are the last of the forgotten inside the Memphis community battling X.
Sometimes the most shocking corporate misconduct is hidden in plain sight, invisible to the naked eye.
What is happening here will swallow our world if we don't stop it right here, right now.
Looking back, there was an early clue that the world's richest man was up to something here.
It's just like, why is Elon Musk coming to Memphis?
The people of Memphis soon found out.
Now Elon Musk is coming to Memphis to build the world's largest supercomputer.
A year later,
I'll tell you why they're coming to Memphis. It's cheap as hell. It is so cheap. The land out there's so much land, and it's fertile, but it's also desolate. So like, and it's hot. So I do know that's cheap there, and prices have gone up, but like the average home price is much there.
People here want answers.
It's the job of a health department to protect our lungs and not run up the winter ecstasy that they have 35 gas turbines operating and polluting our air.
What we're saying is that stops now.
In April, hundreds of people came to a high school in South Memphis to talk about xAI. In January, the company belatedly applied for a permit to operate 15 of its turbines for 5 years.
I'm going to invite a representative up from the applicant xAI, Mr. Brent Mayo.
So Brent Mayo is the advocate for xAI, and he's going to speak. I guess he's got a prepared statement.
That's the first time that xAI has publicly addressed the community in any way.
Understand? I hear the statement, but again, xAI is committed to meeting the highest standard of emissions. xAI is going above and beyond the required emissions required. So that, thank you very much for your time.
He immediately left after reading his script. It's extremely disrespectful.
Did you see that, man? He read his statement and he stormed out. He just stormed out of a public hearing. And I understand, but this is not how you address the issue. I understand, like, you have to, like, did you see? Look at this freaking, the guy is a pansy, bro. And trust me, I would love to use worse words than that. Look at his demeanor. You can't find someone that can relate a little bit, even if you're going to everybody over. You don't think you can find somebody that can at least come in? Like, I could at least try, it would be really hard, especially seeing, I get it, but there are people that can speak and gain engagement and try to, like, hey, like, what can we do here? You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? But he prepares a statement, or he reads his prepared statement, he just walks out about his own facility, mind you, in a community where children have asthma as the highest rate in Tennessee, and he just walked out. Brent Mayo, write that name down. Remember it, whatever. It's pretty easy to remember. He's a project manager for xAI in Memphis. I don't know if he still is, but I'm pretty sure. Let's look him up on LinkedIn. LinkedIn. How crazy is this? How are you guys? Let me know how you're feeling in the chat. Brent Mayo. Is that him? About Brent specializes in capitalists. I don't think this is him. Brent Mayo xAI. Oh, okay. Here he is. Senior manager, site build infrastructure. 1 month ago posted. So he's still there. Yeah. Senior manager, site builds and infrastructure.
The EPA has done nothing, and Elon Musk is doing what he can to keep it that way. Musk has helped the Trump administration place strict limits on the EPA's budget as part of President Trump's broader project to radically reshape the agency. Trump's EPA has begun what it calls the biggest deregulatory action in U.S. history.
To fulfill President Trump's promise to unleash
deregulatory action, which is the opposite of regulatory. So they're not regulating.
American.
Look at Elon, bro. He looks like Pepe the Frog right here. Dude, that is kind of evil look, no? I mean, I've kind of always liked Elon, but this does not make him look good, you guys. It does not. I gotta admit. That looks like a demon is smiling. Am I seeing things? That looks like a demon is trying to smile.
Energy and give power back to the states.
It eliminated the EPA's office that assists heavily polluted communities like South Memphis and canceled billions of dollars of funding for addressing pollution.
So you've slashed already $22 billion in grants, but you used DOGE, if I'm not mistaken, to take down your head count?
It's been great. The people working on the DOGE mission are EPA employees. What they provide to me are recommendations. I have found that working with Elon and DOGE has been fantastic, a big help to our efforts.
In March, the EPA announced
big help to my bank account. Just wait till me and Elizabeth Lane are going to do a live stream on Wednesday. She's coming on the show this Wednesday, and we're going to talk about this stuff. I'm going to have some stuff, financial stuff, some stuff. Let's put it that way. If you're new to this channel, I come with receipts. I don't play this. I find out who funded this shit, and then I start blasting them on X, and it goes viral every time. I don't play around with people in our country using money to take advantage of us. I do not like it.
Plans to roll back over 30 air and water quality standards, including protections against fine particulate matter. The new head of the agency describes promoting the AI industry as a core part of the EPA's mission.
It's about unleashing energy dominance, making America the AI capital of the world. And the EPA can't be restrictive of that. We can't be suffocating it.
Making America the world's AI capital means prioritizing a massive expansion of data centers, and hundreds of them are now under construction.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
With Trump's EPA back.
This, the EPA administrator, Lee Zeldin, who's also, Lee Zeldin, they're looking to be Lee Zeldin, EPA administrator and former New York Congressman Lee Zeldin to permanently replace Pam Bondi. So right now we have Todd Blanche, but Lee Zeldin would be their EPA administrator, would be the freaking attorney general. And this is not, it's only going to get worse. That's what I'm trying to say, you guys. This is only going to get worse. They are positioning themselves to absolutely rule us. It's devastating.
Backing that effort, there may be little recourse for the communities downwind.
xAI comes from a culture of Silicon Valley. That culture is go fast and break stuff. Break it.
A week after this hearing, xAI announced it would reduce the number of turbines it's running at Colossus over the next 2 months.
Okay, so I am going to pour this into the tank.
For Beverly Morris, this has become part of her daily routine.
The water won't come through the water lines to fill the toilet tank, so I have to fill it with a bucket of water. It's plugged with sediment.
She bought her home in Mansfield, Georgia in 2016, drawn by the peace, the trees, the seclusion. That changed when a massive Meta data center moved in next door. Now she buys all her drinking water.
No one should have to be afraid to drink their water. Not in this day, not in this age. I'm gonna fill it up with some water.
Since construction began, her well has turned murky. The sediment you see, that's from her taps. And she says,
Bro, look at that.
And she says it wasn't there before. We contacted Meta.
Oh my
Facebook's parent
gosh.
company told us being a good neighbor is a priority, but that this had nothing to do with them. They commissioned a study which found its data center operation did not adversely affect groundwater conditions in the area. Still, Beverly isn't reassured.
This was my perfect spot before, but it isn't anymore.
The rise of AI means more data and more data centers to handle it. These digital workhorses use huge amounts of power and water to stay cool, discharge wastewater in the process. Flint Riverkeeper Gordon Rogers and his colleague George show me what's at stake. A damaged creek next to another data center, this one owned by QTS.
Extremely polluted water coming off of the QTS property.
Clean water should not be a luxury for some, Gordon tells me, but a right for all.
A larger, wealthier property owner does not have more property rights than the smaller, less wealthy property owner.
QTS says its data centers meet high environmental standards and bring millions in local tax revenue. But local activism threatens the US boom, with $64 billion in projects delayed or blocked nationwide.
What's happening right here in Georgia could provide a window into a global trend, one that might affect the UK. As these high-tech hubs multiply, they are putting a strain on local water supplies, a pressure that's unlikely to slow down anytime soon.
And that's because of our increasingly AI-powered tech habits.
Literally anything that you do today on your computer, your mobile devices, the apps you use, they're mostly powered by data center.
And while Meta disputes that it has caused the problems with Beverly's water, there's no doubt the company has worn out its welcome as her neighbor. Michelle Fleury, BBC.
Dude, look at this.
To drink their water. Not in this day.
People
Not in this
afraid to
age.
drink tap water.
I'm going to fill it up with some water.
Since construction began, her well has turned murky. The sediment you see...
Dude, look at this. Pouring a bucket of water into her own toilet tank to flush her own toilet. Look at this.
For Beverly Morris, this has become part of her daily routine.
In her own home that she bought with her own money in 2016, while one of the richest men on this planet built a building 400 yards from her door. And that building is using millions of gallons of water a day. And her well is full of sludge. I want every single person watching this stream right now to sit with all of this. Like, think about what's happening. This doesn't hit you like me. I can't. I don't know what to say. Mark Zuckerberg has a personal net worth in the hundreds of billions of dollars. Personal. Just him, not even the company, him. The company is worth over $1 trillion, and a 71-year-old retiree, 400 years sitting from a data center, cannot fill her own tank from without it getting tapped out, her toilet. So she carries a bucket. Oh my God. I'm just reacting. This is first time reacting. This is just devastating. That is like, she goes and gets wherever she can get water. She carries a bucket, bro, to her bathroom to flush, buys bottles of water for clean water now. I don't even know if a filter for your fridge can help. That is not the cost of progress. That is theft. That is a corporation valued higher than the GDP of most countries on this planet, stealing the well water of a woman who is just trying to retire in peace. And then Meta has the contempt to send a press statement that says being a good neighbor is priority. You know that they sent that? Meta press statement, being a good neighbor. Let me see if there's any. I'm pretty sure that there might be a YouTube video on here. Let me see. I don't think so. Is there not? How come nobody's talking about this? I'm pretty sure they sent one. Meta frequently issues press statements emphasizing that being a good neighbor is a foundational pillar of its massive global infrastructure expansion. Isn't that crazy? Big things are happening in El Paso. Look at this. Today, Meta is thrilled to confirm the El Paso data center will grow to 1 gigawatt. Since breaking ground last year, we have been proud to call El Paso home and are committed to being a good neighbor. Lies. If this is what's considered being a good neighbor, I don't want you as a fucking neighbor, bro. Get out of my neighborhood. I don't want that shit.
And now an update on the outbreak of Legionnaires disease in central Harlem. New York City's health department says all 12 cooling towers that were contaminated with the bacteria that causes the disease have now been fully drained, cleaned, and disinfected. The towers were at 10 locations in central Harlem. 4 people have died in this outbreak. 99 people contracted the disease, and 17 are in.
Bro, I'm saving all these transcripts for my research, so... All right, this is where things get interesting for me, okay? It tells you that people are dying. Let me pull up this doc that I have. Here, actually, let me go to, there's some data here that I want to look at. I just want to tell you about. Let me see if I can find find it here. So, oh man, there's this too. There's so many issues, you guys. Let me find a particular one on this. I've been like stacking all of this information. Cybersecurity, health baseline. So what we're dealing with is something else. It's something else entirely. Okay, I think I can find more clips here. Well, there is definitely this right here. Yeah. Okay, this is from the CDC actually. So let me pull this up. How Legionella spreads. Legionella bacteria causes Legionnaire's disease and Pontiac fever. Okay. Water systems and devices can spread Legionella to people. Okay. Let's see if we can find Legionella and data centers. Legionella data centers. We're going to have to make a video, I think. That's what it sounds like to me.
Protecting data centers from Legionella.
Is this really the best we've got? Man, there's nothing. There's a gap wide open. I need to make content on this. What is this?
At Co-op City in the Bronx this morning.
A breeding ground for Legionnaires bacteria has been found, and it may be linked to an outbreak of the illness. CBS 2's Janelle Burrell is live at Co-op.
This is 11 years ago. Remember, data centers have been around for a long time.
With more. Janelle?
And Cindy, so far 12 confirmed cases of the disease here in the Bronx, 8 of those cases right here in Co-op City. Now, health officials have isolated
decontamination of cooling towers at Co-op City after Legionella bacteria found. This is the thing. The cooling towers. Okay, so now actually, let's watch this. Even though it's old, let's watch this so you can see, and then I'm going to show you something else.
The bacteria that causes the disease to the cooling towers for the complex here in Co-op City, but residents here say they are concerned, they are worried because they fear there could be other sources of the bacteria.
We need these answers. We need them today.
Residents of Co-op City demanding an explanation. Hundreds packed this meeting Tuesday night, wanting to know how the bacteria that causes Legionnaire's disease ended up getting people here sick.
Feeling chills and nausea, diarrhea, and within 2 days he was totally out of it.
The symptoms so debilitating they landed Brenda Hines' 29-year-old son Ronald in intensive care for more than a week.
No mother should ever see their child that sick.
He's one of at least 8 cases in Co-op City where more than 50,000 people live. The New York City Health Department says preliminary results reveal the complex's cooling towers are contaminated with bacteria that causes the sickness, similar to pneumonia.
It lives in water. People generally get it by breathing in mists of water that have it.
But some of the patients, like Brenda Hines' son, live on the opposite side of the 35-building complex from the cooling towers. Health officials say the bacteria may be coming from another source, unnerving for residents.
We use our water and our heating and our cooling for everything every day, so something bad could be happening.
But a spokesman for Co-op City says the water used for drinking, cooking, and bathing is safe because it's separate from the cooling towers, which they have closed to decontaminate.
We shut all that down, completely shut it off, and filled everything with chlorine, and we're taking every step that the Department of Health is recommending that we should take.
Yeah. 11 years ago, cooling towers. I already had this. This is how our data centers cooled. I mean, this is an engineering mindset. I mean, I don't want it to all be doom and gloom, but what is this summary? Immense strain on local water sources. Actually, let's watch the other one. This one might be interesting.
This is a data center. They are located all over the world and are filled with servers which process and store all the online information we use. Processing all this data consumes vast amounts of energy, and that produces a lot of heat. So how do engineers control this heat? That's what we'll be covering in this video, which is sponsored by Danfoss. Danfoss provide a range of solutions for free technology and heat recovery. Do check those out. I'll leave a link every time we stream a video, back up to the cloud, or even browse the web. We rely on servers to process this at a data center. These servers consume a lot of electricity to process and store all this data. All of the energy consumed by the server is converted into heat, and this heat must constantly be removed. Otherwise, the circuit boards will overheat and destroy themselves. Removing all of this heat consumes additional energy. Some data centers are purposely built in cold parts of the world to make use of the free natural cold air. Some have even been trialed underwater to try and reduce the energy consumption for cooling. Data centers still need mechanical cooling, so let's see how they work. Have you ever been to a data center? Or do you have any tips for improving efficiency? If so, let me know in the comment section down below. If we look at a
This is important because we need to know how this stuff operates, and then you build from the ground up, all right? And as you learn about how this stuff operates, then it makes sense. Because if you don't understand how this stuff works and you don't know why Legionnaire's disease is just like going to become a major illness in this country, well, it's because of this. It's just that there's no good videos on it, except like no interesting video. This is as interesting as we're going to get. You got engineering class and HVAC on Saturday morning, afternoon. Welcome to class.
Cool, simple data center. We find the server racks within the room, and these are typically installed on a suspended floor. Around the perimeter of the room, we find CRAC units, which stands for computer room air conditioners. These CRAC units suck in the hot exhaust air from the servers into the top. They then cool this air down and push it into the void under the floor. The floor tiles are made from thick, solid materials which contain the air within the void. Some of the floor tiles have grills built into them, which allows air to flow through them. These grills are strategically placed near the servers so that the cold air can exit the void and be sucked directly into the servers. The servers have small fans installed to help move air across the circuit boards and cool it down, similar to your PC or laptop. This air will carry the unwanted heat away, where it will be sucked back into the CRAC unit and removed from the room.
They said larger data centers use chilled water systems. You see, chilled water versus direct expansion. They said the water cycle, this is kind of like the way this stuff works, the engineering side. But if you think about it like this, because I'll explain why this ties in. They said the water cycles around to collect heat, okay? And then you have the refrigerant that flows to a condenser. I went to HVAC school for like a couple semesters, but then I started doing crypto and I got out. So I know some of this stuff. The refrigerant flows to a condenser. So the refrigerant flows to a condenser where fans will move the ambient air to reject heat into the atmosphere. That's how this works. So you know what they haven't mentioned is where the water comes from. The part where the water comes from. The part where the water goes back to, by the way. The part where the chilled water at a hyper scale doesn't come out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like you can't make water. They can make meat. I guess they can't make water. So it comes out of an aquifer, just like the earlier super chat, or a municipal supply or a river, and it goes back as evaporated mist into cooling towers, which is what is causing this Legionnaire's disease. Or you can get as discharged warm wastewater that destroys or it just goes out, not come from, it goes out into, it just destroys creeks ecosystem. Or have you seen the images of wastewater data wastewater cooling tower plant creek? Let me see. These are the plants that power this stuff. Look at how this stuff comes out. So it goes somewhere. You see what I'm saying? Look at this sludge. What is the first stage of wastewater treatment? Wastewater. So you have to pay to treat. Look at this. That is coming from the, oh my God. Yeah. Cooling tower water treatment. So they have to, look at this right here. You got your little creek right here. Yeah. Okay.
When it comes
the part, like, think about it. It goes back into waste. It turns into wastewater. Okay. Or as drift droplets, which is what carries the Legionnaire's disease across neighborhoods for hundreds of miles, by the way.
To CRAC units, we have two main types, chilled water and direct expansion. We also have upflow and downflow, which indicates the direction the cooled air flows.
This is a good question. It doesn't matter if they use wastewater because they have to clean it and it becomes clean and then it gets wasted anyway. But I see what you're saying. It's in order to clean it it has to be clean or it'll break these systems. So it already needs to be as clean as possible. And then they actually clean it further. It's like super pure water.
Flow is the most common, so we will focus on this type. Smaller data centers will often use direct expansion units, where an internal compressor pushes refrigerant around the system. A fan moves the hot air over a heat exchanger known as the evaporator. The refrigerant flowing inside the evaporator absorbs this heat, so the air leaves cooler and is pushed into the void under the floor.
Remember, we're talking about Legionnaires, so in order to pick out, listen to how the air, you want to hear air and where it is going and where what is happening to this air and the water and all of this stuff. This is playing a major catalyst in where we're headed.
The refrigerant flows to the condenser unit located outside. A fan blows air over the pipes to remove the heat from the system. The refrigerant then returns to collect more thermal energy. By the way, we have covered the basics of refrigeration systems.
Okay, bro.
Centers will use chillers.
This guy's killing me, bro. I gotta find something else. Hold on. Oh, here's one. Here's another one. This was in 2025.
New York City's health department says all 12 cooling towers connected to the Legionnaires' outbreak in Harlem have been fully drained, cleaned, and now disinfected. The 12 towers were located at 10 buildings throughout the neighborhood
This is going to be all over the country. It's already starting. And a bunch of them, thousands of them, they're going to infect our air with Legionnaire's disease. Like, they're going to kill us.
Including Harlem Hospital. Residents are hoping this puts an end to the weeks-long outbreak that resulted in 4 deaths and 99 infections. Eyewitness News reporter Marcus Solis is live in Harlem with the very latest. Marcus.
And Liz, indeed, the city has been trying to reassure the public that the numbers have slowed down, that the situation is now under control. But there is a lot of frustration, particularly in this neighborhood where 2 of those cooling towers are on this block. One is on a building.
I knew it. I knew it.
Denise Merchant says she was not surprised to learn that the cooling tower at Harlem Hospital is one of the locations linked to the deadly outbreak of Legionnaire's disease. Her sister Valerie continues to recover from a bout that nearly killed her, being treated in the very place that might have sickened her.
She doesn't go anywhere. She goes to the doctor. She goes to Harlem Hospital for her doctor visit. She goes to Ronald Brown so she's in the area. She goes home and that's it.
Today, the city announced that the cooling tower at this building on 125th Street was drained and sanitized. The last of a dirty dozen.
The thing is, it's like, why do they wait? What? You can't be proactive. You got all this money to build the fastest fucking thing in the world, and you can't be proactive. We need to be up their ass. It's even frustrating me. I see people in the chat saying I had to take a break for a second. This is pissing me off. Yeah, it's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. It's insane.
We now go to Harlem, where the Legionnaire's disease outbreak has now claimed a 4th life. This as the number of confirmed cases continues to rise.
Meanwhile, the city has released a list of the cooling towers being tied to this outbreak. Good day's Brayla Tomasetti joins us with those details. Brayla, what's happening?
Yeah, Dan and Tashani, well, that's at least a major development in this story. The outbreak resulting, though, in nearly 100 cases. Officials say more than a dozen people still in the hospital. And for the first time, like I mentioned, since that outbreak started, city officials
60 people infected.
Finally identifying which buildings are connected
4 died
to the deadly disease. A dozen cooling towers in 10 Harlem buildings. Well, they've tested positive for Legionnaires. 4 of those buildings, which include Harlem Hospital, are city-owned. 11 out of the 12 cooling towers have been treated, and the final remediation is slated for completion today. The health department says testing is underway to confirm whether there's a link between those who tested positive and the towers that contain the deadly bacteria.
We're requiring cleaning and antibacterial treatment of those 12 towers. What this means is that, yes, these buildings were positive for the kind of bacteria that can cause people to get sick, the Legionella that
Let's just get people sick and we'll fix it later. This is devastating, you guys.
can cause illness. Per our protocol, the New York City Health Department's investigation on the source responsible for Legionnaire's disease cases in Central Harlem is underway.
The 4th death was reported less than a week after city health officials tried to reassure Harlem residents that the outbreak was under control.
People are dying. Oh, it's only 4 deaths. It's only 4 deaths. We have millions of people. What? Think about that. That's how they're thinking. I guarantee you. Oh, it's not that bad. Think about that. I guarantee you. Because if they were thinking about it, they would be proactive, but they're not. They're like, oh, well, people died, so we cleaned it and it should be fine now. We'll clean it again if someone dies again.
Held a town hall discussion last night to provide the community with more information, stressing that the disease is airborne and could reach people outside of the 5 impacted zip codes in Central Harlem. Health officials
5 zip codes? 5 zip codes.
Also noted that while most people experience flu-like symptoms, Legionnaires can be treated effectively with antibiotics if caught early enough. Still, some feel
this is 8 months ago. Who said that? Yeah, 8 months ago. This is 8 months ago right here. So this is a cooling center in Harlem. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be a data center. See, that's the thing is you need cooling towers. It has nothing to do with right now. We are talking about cooling centers because cooling centers have to cool hardware. So in order to operate your software, you need hardware. And that hardware is the infrastructure, this type of stuff, right? Can you see it? Computer. All right. This right here has I have a fan underneath it. See? It's not plugged in right now, but this has 8 fans. Look. So think about it like this. I can show you. Think about this. Underneath here, there's 8 fans. Okay. This is my other computer. And if you I can turn on the fan by pushing this button. Here, I'll show you. Can you see that? Yeah, here. So I'll go like this and it turns my fan on. And then you might be able to hear it turn on. Maybe not. But think about it at small scale. Okay. I need to turn this off, actually. Let me turn this computer off. So think about it at a small scale. And this is one computer. I have 2 in here. I have fans in this other computer too. So think about that. So all hardware needs cooling, okay? This is fan cooling, but they need liquid cooling to cool all of these data centers. And it has a bunch of GPUs inside there. And because of that, there becomes mold and bacteria that grows as a result of all of this water heating and cooling and the temperature that it lives in. So yeah, there's that.
I feel like they left that meeting with more questions than answers.
Building that I live in, they have like a air vent in the bathroom, and nobody comes upstairs to clean that out. I have to literally go up there and scrub that myself because remember it gets dusty.
I asked about how do you know you're cured once you are diagnosed with the Legionnaire and you did receive some of your medical attention, then what happens afterwards? So those that don't do hospital follow-ups will know at home what to do and how people at home can take care of that.
And some Harlem residents criticized the city for not previously releasing those locations of the 12 cooling towers that initially screened positive for Legionella bacteria. The acting health commissioner defended the move, saying she didn't want to give people a false sense of security until the investigation was complete.
Oh, can't give anyone some security. People are out of control. It's just so crazy, man. Like if you look at, let me show you this. When water droplets are expelled from a cooling tower, they can carry amoeba, which can contain Legionella, spreading virulent bacteria over considerable distance. The single biggest reason people get sick is the protection Legionella gains by living inside amoeba within biofilm in warm water cooling systems. This makes the bacteria extraordinarily difficult to eliminate with standard chemical treatment and allows it to multiply to dangerous levels and primes it to infect human lungs, cells, and data center contacts, specifically the large-scale cooling towers required to dissipate the enormous heat loads of server infrastructure create exactly the exact conditions, warm, stagnant water, large surface areas for biofilm growth, and that maximizes the risk. Prevention requires active water management programs with temperature control, regular biocide dosing, physical cleaning, and monitoring rather than passive treatment.
To fuel the AI boom, but the reality here is more complicated. Take a look at this chart from Semi-Analysis. It tells the story. This is not just a clean energy pivot. It is a energy capacity arms race. And China, on the left, it's building everything: fossil, renewables, grids, storage. Electricity generation there has nearly tripled from 2005. The U.S., on the right, though, you can see flat overall. Gas dominates, coal is declining, and renewables, they were gaining. This law, though, changes that trajectory. It is likely to flatten or even reverse solar and wind growth, extend gas's dominance, and it could trigger a coal rebound in parts of the country, which is slower and more expensive to operate. But power is now the constraint. Without cheap, reliable electricity, costs rise, deployment stalls. You can't ship product if you can't power it. And this bill makes that build out slower, dirtier, and more expensive, just as China is scaling faster. This is also one of the core fault lines, guys, in Elon Musk's falling out with Trump. He called it a massive.
So how is that possible? Look at China. The country is fucking huge. I can count how many there are. There's less than 50. There's probably like 100 maybe. All over, like in this whole area, there's not enough. And you're going to tell me that we have to compete with China. And then look at this. What are you talking about? They're just lying to us, you guys. Look, zoom out and look. Look at this. You've got Europe and America. And you want to talk about China? This is China, by the way. Here. Now you know they're lying. Okay? How many? Should we check other maps? Oh, this is cloud. We don't know what that. The information database. I mean, this is actually a really great site, because if we look how ridiculous this is, and they're trying to tell us that this whole country is beating us to the arms race. I got to send this to somebody. Ridiculous. These are the data centers in the United States. Mexico ain't got shit. South America ain't got shit. But damn, if the EU, like this is what we are going to end up looking like. You can't even zoom out all over. This whole EU is fucked. United States is already screwed. Look at where they put it all in here, man. All on the coast, all up in the most populated area in the country. And you want to talk about China. Give me a break, bro. Give me a break. I don't know. I think that's a good place to end it. This is ridiculous. The most transparent government in American history, huh? All right. Well, I appreciate everyone for being here. I'm going to wrap it up, hang out with the family for a little bit, and then I got to do some research.